Well, hi, everybody. This is your friend Ursula on the Ascension Playground. Today we have a very special guest, Alan Steinfeld. We have a mutual friend, hi, Alan, in Italy, and we just want to give a shout out. Thank you, Barbara, for connecting like-hearted souls. I mean, Alan, my goodness, you're the interviewer who has interviewed just about all the conscious thought leaders, especially within the contact realm or segment. But then it goes more because you're a writer, a producer, a speaker, TV show, new realities. I mean, the list goes on. And of course, I've just already ordered your new book, Making Contact. I understand there's another book coming, and you've got a class and workshop also coming up that we want to make sure people know about if they're into remote viewing. So I'm going to step over and hand the microphone over to you. Alan, what's going on? It's 2025. Take it away.
What you want to know? What the predictions for this year? Is that what you're saying? Is that what?
Well, with everybody you've talked to, we all feel, especially if we're tracking astrology and energy and the galactic, we knew this time of change and shift, working with Mother Gaia, the Earth and her living beings, including humanity, evolving. But we're also hearing 2025 to 2027 is the most turbulent of times for the new human, the new
people have always said that. I mean, yes, it may be true, but every year is a turbulent time or something. I mean, it's just the nature of 3D reality, right? So this is a time of change. We've always been in a time of change. So maybe it's getting more intense. That's possibly what's happening, more galactic in its connections to other levels of consciousness. So yeah, I think we're in an acceleration, but it's always sort of been that way. Maybe we're picking up speed as the snowball rolls downhill or something. I don't know. It's always been fun.
I think that's a good point, because the advent of social media and the global interconnectedness that we're hearing live time, what's happening all around the world at 24/7, it's shifting our consciousness. So you're right. So the feeling is, oh, I'm plugged into this bigger net. But perhaps, like you're saying, take a pause. And there's always been changes as part of life and being in the 3D experience.
Right. I think being plugged into that bigger net is sort of a false narrative, because the real making contact really is making contact with ourselves first. I mean, social media or media, whatever, newspapers, whatever century you're in, will always be present, telling you what to think, how to feel, what's the latest. It's like, I remember when CNN started, right? It was like all news all the time, or right. WINS. But
we're dating ourselves, huh?
Yes, but people get addicted to this external reality, and part of why we're in existence is to the internal reality. So, how are you feeling? How am I feeling about the moment is the bigger question than the other realities that may or may not be happening, right? I mean,
well, yeah, you're helping me see, we can tune in to the channel of constant fear and anxiety and scarcity and, oh my God. Or we can, I think, like you're saying, take charge, know that it's in us. And so you're helping me remind myself that when I looked at your Galactic Soul records, so thank you for letting me open your Galactic Akash. And so having trained with Julia Balaz and her certified practitioners course, today a very special star is working and activating something that you have natally in your Venus. Your Venus, this planet of love and beauty and resources and harmony. Your natal Venus at 6 degrees Pisces, 8 minutes in the 12th house, Alan. Today, Deneb Adijay. This is the star that the Egyptians called like the birth canal of the great swan Isis. And so I just wanted to say what it's marking today in its trine of our sun in the heavens. It's bringing in the shaman star. So this conversation that we're having, I mean, out of love, your Venus in Pisces in the 12th house, it's really activating that auspicious. Let's see how we journey with our hearts as an antidote to what you just said about, yeah, maybe just not hold that web or that network or that outside world so strongly, and maybe tune more into that 18 inches going from the mind into the heart.
So how can I work with that, transit now in my life? What do I need to do?
Well, when I look at your chart, it's conjunct Venus. So you're actually, when you drop into that heart and it's the 12th house, it's the house that carries all the energies of the other 11 zodiacal signs. It's saying, okay, universe, oh, big ocean of the cosmos. I have a gift from Deneb Adijay, the tail of the swan, Isis. So many temples in Egypt open up so that Osiris can greet his beloved Isis. And so it's a very ancient way of saying balancing that masculine feminine. But what you just said was it's about going in, and it's loving yourself as kind of like the shaman going backwards in time. We think it's outside, but it's really internal.
But I'm also having some, I don't know if I call them issues, but some things come up in my personal relationship, my personal love relationship. So how would it affect that? I mean, you don't have to give a personal reading right here, but I'm interested in how that interfaces with my current present situation.
Let's do this then, because I'll go ahead and put up on the screen, if you don't mind, just the conjunctions for you
All right.
later when I record this.
Yeah.
But
No, because I'm interested
you have an Aquarian sun, your natal sun, 1 degree 33 minutes in the 11th house. So you really light up social networks. You're designed to carry this dream of the future out into the world. It's very transpersonal. And so, and your moon and Taurus working in opposition to Centaurus. And so that's this one who wants to bring a gift out to the altar, this like cosmic altar of here's my gift. And so we think in 3D, okay, here's a book, here's no, it's really, I think, the heart. And so for me, when I see this, you ask about your love relationship, it's moving me into this remembrance that you have all 4 super cosmic points activated in your soul connections. I mean, it's not that unusual, but when I see it and I see the work you've done, you're quite cosmic and metaphysical. And so to find a match in 3D that matches you for this idea of who else is their dream pairing with yours. You're not here to drag along someone or force something, but it's this idea of, it's always like learning how to go back in. And the other is that mirror or reflective self. But I'm telling you, Alan, working with the Galactic Center, Super Galactic Center, the Great Attractor and Shapley, it just tells me, downloads, travel.
How can I work with it more effectively is what I'm asking. I mean, yes, it's working in me because the energies are impacting me in my chart. So how can I really be conscious of that sort of movement of the galactic energies?
It's an invitation to know that at your birth moment, these energies of the stars as beings offer a special gift, and you've been gifted with quite a bit. And so when you are ready, to really bring to the consciousness, how do I carry? Because it's a multifaceted, Like you were talking with Bashar about this idea of I'm a facet of this multifaceted crystal. And it's true. And so to match an energy like yours at this potent state, to really find that divine union of equivalence or equal and opposite energetics. So how to get
Yeah.
started, it's learning what stars were there to bring you their gifts. And until, as you know, cosmically, we invite them in because they don't just show up and start activating. Like, let's go now to your alien or non-physical experiences and that marking on your body. Let's go there because you've had an
Before you go there, but before you go there, just tell me, how can I work better with these galactic energies? How can I be more aware of its potential ways to activate more of my divine self? That's what one question I have.
Okay. Well, I guess what? The simple answer is come see me for a reading and let's do it. We'll lock out 3 hours and we'll go deep.
Okay.
But it's an introduction to who's at your tea party, who is really set at the table as star family. So again, if you've had a non-physical experience with invisible beings, let's say, who was that? And this is a way to just say, I've had experiences too, and I've wanted to know energetically. It was working with Prageet and Julian with the Stargate experience in Mount Shasta. Things happened, but I'm a double Virgo Pisces moon. And I'm like, well, tell me their name. Because Alan, the power of the name or knowing what's going on a broader level. And then you decide, does it match your own life experiences? And do you want to engage with that? And when I look at your 7th house of divine union, marriage, partnership, you've got what they call in astrology an interception. So it's a marker for an old soul, someone who said, hey, I can expand, but put my house of marriage underwater. And so any planet that's engaging in that 7th house, I mean, it's Libra who's underwater and your Aries in your identity of who am I? So this is how the language of astrology, it's like this blueprint of your birth moment. This is Alan's cosmic agreement for 3D. And that's what astrologers are looking at. But now we're putting in the other stars, which, it's very ancient and it's archetypal energy. And so you've been designed to have this mysterious thing around uncertainty with your divine union or marriage. But romance is a little different.
How do I change that then? I don't want to be in uncertainty though.
Well, if you hold the idea what Lisa Royal Holt offers with her beautiful work of galactic heritage, it's all about integration. And so when Cryon with Lee Carroll says, look, now is a time that's potent where we can take our karma and be done with it with focus and work, but it's done and clearing karma past, present, and future, and not just with self, but with our whole soul families. So really understanding, like if I have some cleanup work on my relationship house, getting a reading, and Julia Balaz has over 70 certified practitioners around the world. I think they're speaking in like 8 or 9 different languages. It's remarkable how fast, in a period of 3 years, the desire to understand oneself as a more multidimensional, galactic, Akashic personality, like, tell me more about who I truly am. It's available. It's a starting point. It's never complete.
All right. Well, that's fine. I'll figure it out. I mean,
Come see me. Let's have some more fun later if you really want to know.
Sure. Well, all right. Let's see. Okay. What else do you want me to
so let's talk about that interesting mark if you feel comfortable.
Oh, no, I totally do. I've written about it, so I feel comfortable that during I think it was an alien abduction, there was a mark on the back of my knee that was a kind of door opening to the whole UFO phenomena. Because, people have dreams, they have visions, but the physicality of that, and I've seen very similar markings on other people. That was the reality that these adventures into the unknown really do happen. It's happening on a level where we're trans physical almost. It's physical, but it's also alternate reality type stuff as well. So, so what do you want to know about it?
Well, when I listened to you talk to Bashar, I think that video, and I'll put a link to your conversation with him on your site, newrealities.com. It was maybe 10 years ago or more. But this idea that how do I hold it instead of I've been abducted to I'm part of an interspecies broader plan to help support one another.
Right.
Do you have a comment
Right.
10 years later?
Yes, some people are freaked out. I am happy to be the father of an alien race. That's on my resume. No, I mean, if it's true, and who knows if it's actually is true, because all these levels of existence takes place on other levels of reality, other dimensional conscious points of awareness. I'll call it that. And so on this level, that's just insane to even consider. On the other level, where we stretch beyond the 3D, these are worlds and possibilities that adventures in consciousness open doorways to. So, yes, was I taken aboard and genetically contributed to Bashar's race? Well, yeah, I think that's probably possible. Can I prove that? Can he prove that? Does it? No, but it feels like it could be. So, we're bouncing back and forth the whole time in this age of transition between the 3D and 5D realities. And we just have to know in the higher levels of gnosis that these things are happening, like past lives are reality. Definitely people with near-death experiences. In my remote viewing class, people can see and feel beyond time and space. I actually don't know how it happens. All I know is that it does happen. So what's happening now in our day and age is a transcendence of the 3D energetic separation where between linear reality and this mixing of overlays of many realities.
Yeah, whether it's string theory or parallel or interdimensional. But let me go back for a minute because some people may not know the whole story. So
sure.
When you were talking with Bashar, who's channeled by Daryl Anka, and anyone who wants to see it, I'll put it in the show notes. So having a triangular marking behind your knee as physical proof, and then the memories were coming back to you of, okay, and you were looking to Bashar for confirmation. Did this happen? Yes. Was I part of donating part of my, whether it's DNA or other bodily stuff, helping support the hybridization of, when we look at Bashar, we think of Essassani, but in the in-between states, it's like known as the grays by some people, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this idea of evolutionary interspecies support of one another, and that they are here to help us as well with our choice point. But getting back to you, it's this idea that, okay, so you may have forgotten, but you agreed to donate DNA, and it went back generations. He said 10 generations in your bloodline. So it's not even just about Alan, but it's Alan, and it's the lineage. So then you go, well, that's even more interesting, because oftentimes we're hearing these pre-agreements. Why does it happen with certain families and not others? There's usually a pre-agreement. So anyway, when Bashar said yes, and you are the great grandfather, and you said, and are you part of my family of sorts? And it wasn't a direct yes, but it's this idea of the broader, instead of thinking physically, it's it's energetically.
Well, it
And
is physical though too, because it's your DNA, your cellular structures, the vibration of your, you
okay,
know,
you're right. You're right.
body is it's also, but it's also energetically. So, it was actually a square marking. Some people do have triangular markings, but mine was 4 dots.
Oh, okay.
But I've seen that too. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know if what they're the different markings are about, but it did open up this whole field, which has led to this book, which is a kind of compilation of the overview of the UFO phenomena. And it opened me up to, I mean, I was already into all this stuff. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was younger. I was fascinated with space and stars, as Star Trek was, I would
Yep.
stop everything to watch the original series in the 1960s, and everything Kurt and Spock were saying and doing, and this whole other level of it wasn't science fiction for me, it was possibilities. So I was totally into it. And then having this incident in 1987, and then I don't know how many years later I talked to Bashar about that. It confirmed what I suspected, that my family was very nice, but I felt like they weren't my real family. I mean, they were real, of course, genetically, my mother and father, but I felt like I belonged to some other I don't wouldn't say family, other connections to other beings that weren't necessarily present. So also what I want to say is about, some people say they make an agreement. Some people argue, and I don't necessarily, that, okay, I made an agreement before coming in, but now I've changed that agreement. I don't want to be abducted. I don't want these alien offsprings. I mean, for me, it didn't bother me, but the way Bashar was saying it, he was saying you don't have a choice. And other people argue, like, well, I may have said it then, but I'm conscious now, and get away.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a cosmic
Let
me
me
too.
revisit that. Yeah. Let's break the contract. Yeah.
Right. And why not? For me, well, okay. I mean, it was definitely
Yeah.
an upgrade for me to have that experience, and maybe for the Essassani genetic lineage to have that experience. So, you know, it doesn't bother me as much as other people, but there is that question. Do you want to, that's just, I'm throwing it out there for, like, yeah, people made an agreement, but
Yeah. It's
we're,
powerful.
we're
I
here
think
to
you're,
change the agreement if we
yeah.
want to. And
I think
I
that's what
personally
makes us
think,
partly with that divine spark of source. Our free will is major. And when we step into the sovereignty of saying yes or no, like you're saying, like, let's renegotiate, 1,000% yes. But the word
but
abduction,
Bashar wasn't open to that. He was
no,
saying you
because
made, so he was a little dogmatic, and other people have a big problem with that dogmatic. Well, you made an agreement, you can't change your mind because this is what you said from your higher self. I didn't have a problem, but other people have major problems with that. Okay.
yeah. Well, let's just give a taste of Bashar too, if you don't mind. I actually have one of the few contact cards that my friend
Uh,
Jimmy got me, which it so connects to your book, you know. So this idea of listening to Bashar's words about Essassani and this frequency, and it's a different frequency to say choose joy, compassion, love. And so the word abduction has kind of like lower vibration around it. But let's just go. I learned that he 10 years ago said he is in a solo craft above Cairo. And so I'm assuming it's near the pyramids, right? Egypt. Have you, since that time, had of any other updates around Bashar
yes,
or
his
other
craft
galactic?
is over Bell Rock in Sedona currently. So
Right now, Bell Rock?
Yes, it
Holy
moved from
mackerel.
Cairo. I don't remember when it was in Cairo. When was that in Cairo? That was years ago then, right?
Oh, I just interviewed Elizabeth Hartstar and Linda Kubata Bird. They're going to do a 7/7, July 7th, major like Sedona retreat, a portal, a cosmic portal opening. So that's interesting that sometimes there are these points on Earth where it's so sacred that there's a reason perhaps he's there now instead of, in Egypt. Um,
Mhm. But I don't
okay.
know. That's the update. And his ship, well, Bashar is saying 2027 is the year that changes everything. That's about 1.5 years from now. I mean, so
That's
we're
what Richard
already,
Rudd is saying too with the gene keys and the
oh, is
human
he?
evolution. Yeah, 2027
Other
astrologers like
people,
Pam Gregory too. It's a big
uh,
marker.
right. Chris Bledsoe is saying that, and Tucker is saying something like that, although she hasn't given any specific dates. But yes, there is a whole shift we are now currently in that something major is unfolding here on planet Earth.
But when I've talked with Drunville Melchizedek years ago, when you have the longer view of Earth's history, these pole shifts or whatever, there are these patterns or flows of cycles of evolution. And when you mentioned Chris Bledsoe, are you talking about junior or
Oh
senior?
no, I interviewed Junior, but
I
no, Chris
heard that one.
Bledsoe,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
father himself, he's get visions, he talks to higher dimensional beings, he's getting these downloads that something major's coming to the planet. So
Wow.
yeah,
See,
so
that's why I like talking to you, Alan. Like you really do have your like ear on the, let's say, the tracks. And you can tell, is there activity coming down the line or not? It feels like this Indian like listening on the train
what?
track.
So there are patterns of change, you're right. And then there are, what do they call them? Black swan events where nothing like anything has ever happened before comes into the collective awareness.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
COVID wasn't exactly that, although for this generation it was, but are cycles of that. But I think with the UFO phenomena, human history civilization is about to take maybe a left turn or a right turn. I don't know, but it's about to shift on its axis, is
Yeah,
my
Drunvalo called it the left turn, I believe. So, which
whatever.
way? Wow. Okay, I
Um,
gotta jump in and just put a shout out with JJ Hertalk and Desiree.
yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna tell you that Keys of Enoch book. I think it was like 20 years ago. I was so into like Eric Pearl and the reconnection, and he's played in Are You? And then Hertalk's book was pointed to as by Eric Pearl as one of the, it says in here about the new way of healing, but I see you all the time and watching Gaia TV. I caught the wonderful, I think you were at which expo, maybe LA Expo, New Life
JJ
Consciousness.
Hertalk, yes.
Any
Yeah, they're good
thoughts about what
friends.
they're finding?
What JJ and Desiree are finding,
Yeah.
they're finding an acceleration of frequency. They're finding more and more people opening up to these multidimensional realities around the planet. He just finished his 64th key. You know,
Wow.
the keys of Enoch were 54 keys published in 1973. In these last 10 years, I guess from 2015 to 2025, he's written a new key every year as the capstone to the keys of Enoch teaching and the downloads that Enoch, he didn't channel it, but the downloads that he received from Enoch and when he went off planet to these other levels of reality. So, he's JJ, he's a good friend. He's very much in alignment with the frequencies of change and maybe some dramatic incidences that are unfolding on the planet. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
something
love
that
it when they put up an image and you were laughing because you go, "Oh, you just put up me as an alien." And if you don't mind, I'd like to show that later. But
you
it's
could
this
show that
idea
later.
that it's this idea that how do we see ourselves? And it's astonishing when it just boils down to frequency and vibration, and like turning the television station, raising a frequency to engage with other dimensions. But let's segue now to this incredible opportunity coming up through the Shift Network and your class. It's an online webinar class live, right?
Well, part of what this work I've been doing is to understand the nature of consciousness. So the Shift Network contacted me, and I had learned remote viewing from Russell Targ, who is the originator, one of the co-originators of the Stanford Research Institute program for the CIA to psychically spy on the Russians, basically. And then it's gotten out into the field. I knew Ingo Swann, who coined the term remote viewing instead of psychic spying. So I met the top people in the field, and I've done this practice myself. I know it's possible to see beyond your local reality. Our consciousness is vast and infinite even, and we can tap into things that are not present to our five senses because we have other senses that have been not activated in most people. So in this course, I teach people how to activate their non-local awareness, mostly through their right brain. You have to get the left brain out of the way and tap into this receivership of knowledge that's always coming to us. So 7 weeks, we're going to do these from the beginning practices to the more advanced practice. The ultimate practice is using remote viewing for making contact. We go off planet and make contact, but you need to build the muscle and the skill of what we can do of that. So the left brain and right brain are two dual processors, and the left brain is always pushing itself out there, and the right brain is receiving the infinite nature of the quantum field. So that's basically what it comes down to. You can direct your awareness to specific targets in this quantum field based on like what the moderator might have in mind, or in an envelope, or somebody's at a certain location, or so somehow in this vast infinite field that includes past, present, and future, we can direct our awareness to be focused. And that's all you have to do. And then you sit back when you have that, when there's a specific target or signal coming from a target, and you let yourself receive the impressions. It's a miracle how that happens, because we never thought that was possible. But over and over again, working with my own awareness and working with hundreds of people around the world, it seems like we're all psychic, we're all telepathic, we're all non-local, we're all infinite, we're all divine beings, all those things. And it plays out in the start in remote viewing.
Can I ask, Alan, did you ever take a non-local journey, let's say, by using remote viewing to bring something back that would help support you in your current life?
Yeah, I've journeyed to other planetary systems, talked to other beings. It's more like an energetic bringing back than an actual thing. It's more like a upgrade of frequencies that I think the reason we're encountering these other beings on whatever level is because this is a time for, people call it fifth dimension or sixth dimension or whatever, fourth dimension, but it's time for soul growth, soul evolution. It's like we've been limited in a very small human container on the capacity of what we're feeling. And we have an opportunity now to expand beyond the old dramas and meet some new realities with feeling. That's the key.
With people who are listening that are studying galactic astrology, I would just shout out that when we look at the Egyptian, especially the secret mystery schools, and what they were doing, let's say in Abydos, Egypt, at the Osirian temple. There, if you felt like you've had a past life and working and being trained how to move outside the body, non-local, and to go have visitations, it's like Alan is back and offering, what is it, a 6 or 7 week course to
Yes.
remind you. It's like when you talked about the brain left and right, I was thinking yin yang, the receptive,
Yeah.
and then the assertive. And all that goes back to our Lyran beginning place, the cradle of our civilization, let's say galactically, where there was a part that said, yeah, let's go assert and colonize, masculine, let's say energetically. And then the feminine going to Vega, the Vegan saying, no, I'm going to just go in to find all the answers. So working
Right.
with both sides of the brain. But
But I want to say something about galactic astrology
yeah,
because we have this greater awareness than just the planets and the houses, and that these input of other aspects of energetic impact on our chart are the means to understand the soul evolution. That's really what I think the essence of galactic astrology is to lean into these other opportunities feel to feel nonlinear awareness, to express more compassion, to tap into alternate states of reality, not really with plant medicine, but with the potential, the untapped potential of the human mind to journey into new realities. That's why I call my program on YouTube New Realities, because these star systems that, the more you're aware of your galactic astrology, the more access perhaps that you have to the frequencies of these influences. Like before Pluto and Neptune and Uranus were discovered, they existed in the chart, but they didn't have as much
yes.
impact until, but when we became conscious of those influences, I think it became more energetically impactful in people's lives, that they could work with it. So the galactic astrology and those placements of these star systems and stars and are ways of becoming ultra conscious of our galactic connections, which is really soul evolution, which is really off the grid of the human development, which has basically been the same thing for 5 or 10,000 years, the old human dramas. And that's great, but we're now going to the next level of the spiral so we can access these other frequencies and know we're part of this multidimensional galactic universe of greater potential. That's what I want to say
Wow.
about astrology.
Microphone drop. I mean, that was exquisite. And I will tell you, like, let's just talk about that James Webb telescope. When the technology is sending back to us imagery of what has always been, but it's new for our eyes, it does help shift us from Earth, human 3D consciousness, duality, fighting each other, cowboys and Indians, to this idea of a galactic consciousness based, like what you said, and Bashar echoed, the multidimensional, fractal of we are all that is, and embracing that, but starting somewhere. So when you do a galactic astrology reading, you're working with a certain amount of stars, but there's so many more in the heavens. And this is when I
Right.
want to bring in William Blake's quote that you bring the energetically into your conversation with Bashar. William Blake, an English poet, painter, and printmaker. I love his work, especially the Genesis frequency that I've always felt coming from him. So his work, mid to late 1700s, quote, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite.
Yeah. Right? I mean,
I know.
perception is what we're dealing with in this planetary kind of human existence. And that perception is conditioned by our society. And that's the fog, that's the filter in the way of infinite perception. So we're dealing with the culture and the influences of the culture to limit our perceptions of reality. I think it was Edgar Cayce who said, everybody wants to know how much does this great consciousness survive the death of the body. The real question is, how much does that infinite consciousness survive the life of the body? Like, how much of this expanded awareness do we have in these limited forms? And I think we can tap into expanded awareness. But the other thing about this unlimited knowledge and perception is that we have to work against our condition. We have to see where our limits have been placed on us. We have to, Terence McKenna said, culture is not your friend because it'll make you just like everybody else. I mean, culture is a tool, but it will limit, unless you step out of the box of programming, the filters are on. And
that's your Aquarian sun in the 11th house speaking too. It's
yes.
dreaming in the future and it's holding the dream. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're here, to hold the dream of the possible and impossible, the unimaginable.
If anyone wants to Google Alan's name, Alan Steinfeld, you'll see a series of YouTubes, interviews, his book. I recommend his book, his classes. Again, the Shift Network is coming up. I think it's July 9th with this online class, Alan.
But my YouTube channel is youtube.com/new realities. I have about 3,000 interviews with people I find the most exciting, cutting edge teachers in the field that are really bringing in these new realities. Joe Dispenza, Nassim Harmein, Lynn McTaggart, JJ Hurtak, Bruce Lipton. I have to say, I can't totally claim discovering Bruce Lipton, but I knew who he was before he was a big shot, because I read an article by him and I said, this guy needs to be heard. And so I sought him out. I went to his home and I talked to him for 3 hours before anyone ever knew who he was. And he was very generous and a brilliant mind. So anyway.
Yeah, yes, I went to his book signing for, Heaven on Earth, several years ago. A sweet man. And so, Alan, that's you putting a spotlight and a microphone and asking the questions of some of these thought leaders, while you are also being a thought leader yourself for the new and expanded. If I could just go, and we'll put a pin in this, with Bashar basically summarizing, I took so many notes. This idea of following your excitement, following your passion, following creativity. And it's not the same as spiritual bypass. When you make a conscious choice to say, follow your aliveness, even in the turbulence and chaos, we can know what's going on. But this idea that it's not just for, blinders, but it's this idea of, from that higher frequency, we can then shift into these and match with our star families or our future or past selves, right? Because in all, it's like a mirror of ourselves. The thing that we're afraid of is really the reptilian Ursula who's staring back saying, don't you see? We've had our beginning era, we've had our polarity era, but we also have a third era where we've actually awakened. And you guys, on Earth, you're in the birth canal. Thank you, Deneb Adijay, Isis, ready to be reborn, for remembering that it's not all about here, what we're seeing outside ourselves. Right. I just kind of want to take that window wiper with William Blake saying, cleansing my perception. Like, okay, third eye.
But there's always a filter on perception until you're one with the infinite cosmos, and then you are the infinite cosmos, then you know all things. But one thing I do love to talk about recently is the telepathy tapes and these have you heard about it? Yes.
No, right? Tell me more. No, tell me more.
These are sort of interviews or an overview of these autistic, non-speaking children who are so wise and so vast in their knowledge and have so much to tell us about the true nature of consciousness and perception. They are a window on this old field of consciousness. What is consciousness? What does that mean? This is a totally new reality, and it's probably the most exciting thing happening in the spiritual playground since whoever.
Who's guiding that? What name do we go look up with telepathy?
Well, Diane Hennessy Powell. But if you go to
Okay.
Spotify and look up the telepathy tapes, there's a 10-part series that will introduce you to this whole understanding that these nonverbal and they're psychic, in my kind of opinion, because they haven't had a lot of left brain overlay because they're not speaking. Because they're not speaking, their right brain, which is the psychic brain, has had a chance to develop much more deeply than people who are clouding their reality with a lot of words.
Oh
So,
my God.
so by having sort of not that same access to left brain and words, these autistic kids who people have thought they were dumb or even retarded are showing their brilliance and their spiritual knowledge and their genius. It is really an incredible phenomenon. And Diane Powell, Dr. Diane Powell, really was the first to say there's something big going on here. And so for me, that's a key that the realities of these old fields are developing in new ways. And maybe I think there is a direct connection to galactic astrology with the emergence of neurodivergent, non-speaking, gifted telepaths. That is
Wow.
something that's be interesting to trace where that actually lines up and the stars that configure to the beginning of the telepathy tapes where this really became public, and now it's so I'd love to track that. If you can track that, that
Yeah,
would be
our Galactic Astrology group through Julia Balaz, we have people from around the world, and I believe someone in the course or several are looking at that. I am a mother of a high functioning autistic daughter, but in the recovery stages, I met very low functioning and how to reframe from handicapped, retarded to
right,
this idea of star child and
right.
offering another gift because there's just so many coming in. And as I'm saying that, I've studied human design and gene keys. So this idea that there's this new children coming in called raves. Anyone born after 2027, there's that marker again, Alan. So they're going to just show up differently. And from what I'm just the small part would be they're going to want to work in teams. Like they come alive when they're with their pod. So they'll still be human, but it's this almost collective hive mind that is going to be born. Because back in the day, if you can remember, we were so excited. Oh, the indigo children are here. Oh, the rainbow children. Oh, and then the diamond children. And then, okay, here's autism. And then here's rave. So it's this ever flowing of like, how do we embrace what we're seeing, but shift it so that there's a gift here. And you're pointing to the heavens, which I love because it's like, yeah, we are galactically hybrids, first Earth lifetime. We're seeing that as we're learning how to read the charts.
But who gave the name raves to this new human population?
I think that might have come, and I could be corrected, with Ra Uru who received during 1987 that harmonic convergence was happening in Ibiza. So he received this new way of looking at your birth chart through these energy centers that combined like I Ching, astrology, numerology, the tree of life. And then Richard Rudd brought in the Gene Keys, who was a student of human design. So
Right.
I just want to use that word rave. Like there's another
I
batch
haven't
of
heard that, but
kids.
who knows? But I do mention the harmonic convergence in my book because it was in 1987 that I did have this abduction contact experience because I was on the road looking for the best place to experience the harmonic convergence. So I went to all the power spot centers like Boulder, Santa Fe, Sedona, Northern California, Oregon. I went to all these places.
Wow.
to see where the best harmonically converging moment could be. And yeah, I ended up at the
You
magic
woke
meadow.
up really early. I think you probably were born more awake. But have
Well,
you
that's a
ever
star
taken?
seed. Those are star seeds. That's
Yeah,
the 1 degree Aquarius in the 11th house
I
coming in
know.
with that awareness of sorts
Yeah.
that I was different. I wouldn't call it woken up. I would say I
Well,
always
you
felt
weren't
a little
part of the homogenized masses of culture. Let's just say it that way. You came in
quiet.
more as perhaps an imaginal cell. Can we imagine a different way of seeing ourselves?
Yeah,
It
no, I
was,
always felt different, I have to say. And it was very Aquarian. Isn't it,
yeah,
doesn't it, don't they say like when the first degrees of a sign are its
and the late
strongest?
and the
And the,
late degrees, the anoretic. So you're right. You know,
so
it
the
would be
one
fun to.
degree Aquarius, 1 degree 33 seconds Aquarius in the 11th house, fully embodied, I think, I don't know, everything Aquarian that I've been living for and wanting and activating in
Yeah.
this dimensional reality.
Can I just say for those listening who know galactic astrology that Alan, you have Aquila conjunct your beautiful sun in Aquarius with the star Altair by 0 degrees 24 minutes. This is a marker for leadership. Like that. So when we talk about conscious thought leaders, it's right there with the Aquarian and that 1 degree 33 minute um, point of Aquarius. For me, it's like you get the 11, then you get the 22, the master builder. 33 is that cosmic level. Like, okay, so he's already flying out there. And, I don't know if you would ever be open to an invitation to do a more in-depth reading for you that we could
Yes, I
share with
would.
others. So we could either do it
Yes,
privately or
absolutely.
share with others
Let's do,
so people
no,
can
let's do
learn.
it. No, let's
Let's
do
do
that.
it.
Let's do it.
Oh,
I
oh,
do
I would
have to,
love that.
no, there was something you said. Oh, Aquarian leadership, I have to tell you, is different than Piscean leadership or
Oh, yeah.
Arian, Aries leadership. Aquarian leadership doesn't expect followers. And there's no one I want to follow myself, but we're being and inputting into the collective field ways of being that may model, but I don't want anyone to follow. I mean, yeah, okay, if they want to, but um, it's different. It's leadership of thought, of individuality, of creative action, of inspiration, the true nature of perception or how to shift perceptual realities. That's what I'm looking at and I don't know, leading, but discovering for myself and others who are interested in that. So I think we need new terms for old realities.
I love that. Okay, Alan. So you're going to come back. I hope that.
Anytime.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hope people will take advantage of looking at Alan's book, Making Contact.
Wait. Was there something else you were going to ask me though about what Bashar said? You can. I have a little more time if you wanted to
Oh, you
ask me.
do? Okay, then I'll cut that part out.
Okay.
Um,
Because I'm enjoying talking to you.
oh, likewise. Well, I'm almost like shaking. It's so exciting. I'm like I'm following my. Okay, let me ask. Here's a topic: hybridization. Okay, so I know people are really afraid when they hear the word alien and abduction, especially together. But is there a way that you can talk about, since you're a father of many that you haven't met, but you might have remembered holding one?
I
So,
do. I do
so
remember
can
holding
you
one.
help us? How do we hold that in love without fear?
Well, we're here as creators to contribute to the overall creation. And for me, if I can intersect with things off planet to contribute to other populations, well, it's sort of an honor. I mean, yes, it can be traumatic getting your seed taken in the middle of the night, but it can also be like, wow, they're valuing my contribution to donate a piece of my essence, because they're really looking for essences for the evolution of a genetically hybridized race. It's like, that's sort of a nice gesture. I mean, they're not just, maybe they
Yeah.
are just going to anyone, but it's like, it's an appreciation for a contribution that I can make. Like, if you contribute to someone, people appreciate that. Well, maybe I have this cosmic appreciation.
I
I
love
mean,
that.
yeah,
Well, if I could give a little backstory to
yeah,
people, because there's certain star names, and I'm going to refer to what Lisa Royal Holt has taught me in her workshops, that from Lyra, where manifestation of form began in whatever variety, and then to Vega, where they're more going in, and basically working with spirituality. But then they colonized into a place called Zeta. So it's Zeta, oftentimes, like where the alpha reticuli, etc., are thought of as the grays. And I remember Linda Moulton Howe, she was saying, they're just basically clones. And I might be saying that incorrectly, but it's this idea of the technology getting so, choosing to advance so much that they thought they could live without their emotions. And so by
wow,
bifurcating the emotional response, they moved towards extinction. They could not repopulate. So there was an
that's right,
infertility issue. And so this is why some of the people who've agreed, like your family for 10 generations, have agreed to offer your DNA or your body parts, or like you said,
right,
seed, but generationally and ancestrally, so that this race, the Zetas, could move into where Bashar already is in the future, the Essassani. So, and the
right.
Essassani are trying to remind us it cannot just be about the mind and this ultra mind state with technology. That if we lose our humanity, this emotional, like, how do I feel this intelligence? And your intelligence, your moon, let's take a look at your moon, like how you're
In
feeling
Taurus,
in Taurus,
yeah,
22 degrees, holy mackerel. So this idea of, really feeling and enjoying life, and then that real, like, tactile, sensual stuff. When you bifurcate that and you basically put yourself into this uber machine technology, I don't need that part, let's keep going, it'll lead to the extinction of your species. And so
well,
they're not
that is
just
what
taking from
happened.
us, but we're
They're
helping
taking for
them.
us our what
But
we
it's
have
a
an abundance of emotion and feelings, and genetically, because the emotional bodies are also in the cellular structure. That's when people have heart transplants, lung transplants, liver transplants. They take on some of the aspects of the donor. So the emotionality is encoded within the genetics. So by donating the genetics to these gray race, these ET races, they're able to create a hybrid that is very feeling on the human level, but very intelligent on that ET level. And that's sort of where Bashar's, family is, his collective is. So when you follow your highest excitement, you're activating both the emotion, because it's your excitement, and your mind potential to be the best you can be every minute of the day. So that's sort of their basic philosophy, what he calls the 5 laws of, follows your highest excitement to the best possible thing you have, do it until you can't do it, and then look for the next one. But, the highest potential is why we incarnated. The highest excitement is why we're here. It's an emotional, intellectual, psychological, all those things, activation of all that we are as creator beings in a plane of creation. So by following our highest excitement, we get to be creators in creation, because that's why we've incarnated. And this is what, it's not just the Essassani that follow those. It's like Bashar is saying it all the time. Humans, if we could follow that, then we're living in the future that the Essassanis and those hybrid races are trying to bring here. But we're already there, if we choose to be there. So, yeah, the hybridization is because they did take a wrong end into a turn, into a dead end, and they realized they couldn't get to God by being pure intellect, and they needed our genetics to upgrade the potential of their soul evolution, right? Because
Yeah.
you start,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And just so I'm just going to add this to the conversation that when you really look at humanity's history, it's a different way of seeing us biologically. And when we look at our Pleiadian star mothers and our Syrian forefathers, that this idea that, yes, some of us have really come from the stars and it's stardust and creativity. And you wonder, is there any real pure human just from Earth without this racial mix from the heavens? Like, is it time now to just say, hey, let me open my thinking and my heart to show me if it's true and let me feel it. And if it is true, how can I work with this knowledge that I have family in Vega? I am part of the Essassani if I choose to shift my frequency and work with Alan's class and remote view my future self. I mean, that's what Lisa Royal Holt does. She works with her Pleiadian future self. And then she also works with Germain, this integrated collective entity. So it's like looking at, here we are in 2025. There's the delight of the window of perception is actually opening wide. I mean,
I like Lisa. I like her work. I like what she does. I like what she talks about. And she's a friend, I would say. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm open to a lot of this information collective that's coming in. So, yeah, let's work with as many tools as we can for evolution. And that's why I'm saying galactic astrology. It's not a new tool, but it's become more accessible because they're able to chart these other configurations more exactly. I think that's what the Mayans were doing when they had all those calendars. They had 7 or 8, 9 calendars that track different aspects of the cosmic wheel. And there were certain convergences that opened doorways to new conscious awarenesses, and they took advantage of those things. Of course, that's what the harmonic convergence was about, right or wrong. I mean, who knows what it was really about, but it was fun. And anyway, yes, I love all that, and evolution is the key to.
It does feel like this word expansion, like that as we expand and grow, it's the source, the logos, everything is evolving and nothing is really static when you start looking, especially at these black holes. It's like, wow, the center within a center within a center. Everything's like a vortex of energy, nothing really standing still. And as Earthlings now, are we ready to step into this new way of reframing how we live our lives and how do we see ourselves in this amazing mirror?
Right. No, I think it's true. I should wrap up soon, but any other questions?
No, I'm just fairly thankful. Okay, let me just do a little close. So, Alan Steinfeld, thank you for making contact. Such a delight, and I look forward to talking with you in the future about all things galactic, cosmic, and alien. So, thank you.
Right. So people can find me on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/new realities. They should definitely take my Shift Network course. I'm also going to be at the Psychic Games in Charlottesville, and August 1st, I'm going to be speaking also at the Wisdom of Light conference in Punta Gorda, Florida. And then I'm doing a big event in San Diego called the San Diego Transcendence Retreat, September 27th, 28th. And so we're going to have some fantastic people there, including Daryl Anka. He's going to be there. So
I thought you were going to be in Florence, Italy with me in September. Are you coming ahead of time?
Maybe early September. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's do that.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Ascension Playground. And thank you, Alan Steinfeld. Till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you.